Welcome back to Partnerships Unraveled, the podcast where we unravel the mysteries about partnerships and channel on a weekly basis. My name is Alex Whitford. I am the VP of Revenue here at Channix. And this week, I'm very excited to welcome our special guest, Laura. How are you doing?
I'm good, Alex. How are you?
Well, as you know, I'm about to go on paternity leave in about 3 hours. So I'm having a full meltdown, but I'm very excited to record today.
It will be great.
I'm sure it will be. Maybe, Laura, for the uninitiated, it'd be great if you could give us a little bit of a rundown of who you are and where you've come from.
Sure. So my name is Laura. I'm originally Spanish, but I lived in many countries. I've worked with cybersecurity companies for 15 years now. It's like Acronis, Viva, Proofpoint. And I'm currently based in France, and I'm managing EMEA Marketing Team for SentinelOne.
So that's quite the brand in the booming sector that is cybersecurity. And I think marketing in cybersecurity is particularly interesting because there's lots of obviously 2-partner messaging, 3-partner messaging, end user messaging. What's kept you most interested, engaged over those last 15 years?
Yeah, and as you were saying, like in 15 years, I've run pretty much a lot of the go-to-market strategies. So field direct marketing, channel marketing, corporate events, PR. But I've always worked, I was lucky, I've always worked with channel-focused companies, and all of them, they sell through partner. And that's why, my first experience was already in channel marketing. And since then, I was like, I want to learn every go-to-market, but I want to have partner marketing as, the heart of what I do. Because I really think, with partners and channel marketing, we actually communicate differently with them. We do market differently. We do campaigns for them to success, which is like different as well. And then I think the point that is like, I just couldn't do anything else is like that relationship building. I've managed Europe, Middle East, LATAM. I lived in Singapore and I was like APG, Japan. So I've managed different regions in different countries, and, the cultural differences are there, but there is just one thing that it's always, there with partner and channel is that relationship building. It's like, partners have to trust you, trust the company, trust the technology, trust the products, but it's that personal connection that really makes the difference. And I speak many languages, so that really helped to help them, feel like they were closer to the vendor. But yeah, that relationship build piece, it's what I really like.
100%. I think it's one of the things that I love hearing. We have everyone from sort of local, regional channel account managers and marketing account managers all the way up to sort of global executives. And the story that just comes back time and time again is, hey, I have stayed in the game so long because of the people around me, whether it's the teams I'm building, the communities, the ecosystem. It's such an enjoyable, I think, outside of, I think it's a great go-to-market from a cynical business perspective. It's such an enjoyable place to be, right? Because we're actually having that human-to-human connection.
And it's funny because when you are in cybersecurity, even if you change company, like partners and the partner ecosystem is usually you find it's the same people. So I've been working with the same partners now that are focus partners for SentinelOne for like 10 years because they used to be focus partners as well for other companies. So it's like within this industry, I think in particular, you can just find people all over your career, and it's fun just to build that relationship.
Yeah, it's actually, I do a lot of mentoring for sort of young up and coming salespeople. And I often advise them that getting into the channel is such a smart place to be if you're a networker, because there's people who used to be my boss who now are colleagues, or that now I've managed them and hired them. And you build this network because, the analogy I often give is because you sell to a big bank, that bank doesn't speak to their competitors down the road, but even the competitors, right, speak to each other here, and they've all worked together. And so I just sort of love that community. I think it's a great place to be.
Totally. I agree.
So speaking of community, I think I've worked in an EMEA role, and one of the challenges that I know you face and lots of EMEA people face is the sort of conflict that comes between globalization versus localization. How do you approach those nuances?
Yeah, totally. And I always say, it's not that we just want to go regional. It has to be a global first strategy. There has to be a global framework, that works for everyone. We have to do the basics right. And that means, like, for example, for the channel, yes, we have to build a partner program that is common for everyone. And, partner portal and partner communications. Yeah, so we have to do this strategy and the global thing, right? Yes, but then how do you take that to EMEA? EMEA, it cannot be just taken as one fits all. Partner program, yes, but what about EMEA specifics when it comes to incentives, country specifics for law, or like when we talk about partner portal, yes, but what about localizing the content that it's in the partner portal, making that relevant to them? They just may not care about the price list for other regions or events or campaigns. So partner communications, yes, global structure and, newsletters and things like that. But what about localizing the content, making that specific for them, tailor for them? So I think it's always, and you will find that message, and I will talk a lot about that, because it's like in everything when it comes to partner marketing, it's a global yes, but. So, it's important, but we have to make sure that EMEA specificities are also taken into account.
100% agree. I think I can share a bit of data here to sort of reinforce what is absolutely a correct statement. At Chanex, we connect thousands of partners and we get them marketing every single week, and we can see all of the performance data of those partners. And so even though I live in the Netherlands, the Dutch are unbelievably good English speakers. It's crazy, but I can see the performance difference between the same content that's done in English and in Dutch through Dutch partners to Dutch end users. It's wildly different performance, right? And it's not because though the people don't understand, they absolutely do. But when you are being sold to, when you are being marketed to, when you are being enabled, local language or cultural nuance plays such an important factor. Coming back to our original point around fostering those great relationships.
Totally. And when you talk about campaigns, like campaigns in a box, that's a word that we all love. And it's like everyone tries to do it, but we actually don't know how to do that. But it's like, again, campaigns in a box as a concept is great, but it's how you deliver that. Because it can be a campaign in a box, hosted in the partner portal, English, go for that, go and find it. I've seen in your podcast and in one of your posts, you said you were talking about those ones would perform like 12% of the partners only would use that, which is like, we just, as a vendors, we have to try to make it as seamless as possible for them to sell. And that includes, if we give them the assets and the campaign and the enablement, we have to make it as easy as possible. So it's not the same to just say campaign in a box in English, hosted in the partner portal, that if we say we localize those campaigns in a box, we make it yours, and then we go through our channel business managers, channel marketing managers to the partners, and we say, this is the campaign we built for you. I think this one works for your customers and prospects. Go and do it. And then, we always track consumption and how partners, they use our campaigns in a box, for example. And we see that when you go to them one by one and you say, this is localized and that actually makes sense for you. Like most of them right now, we see like 90% of our focus partners, they actually use the campaigns in a box, and that translates automatically into, pipeline and deal registrations. And so it's like using the same foundation and the same concept of what a campaign in a box, it could actually take you to, success or not, depending on how you tailor and how you market that.
100%. I think the thing that the data point you're talking about there is we see on average about a 6% utilization rate for campaigns in a box. Now, one of those is the lack of localization. But what's really interesting about what you're seeing there is if you can measure the outcome of the campaign in a box, it becomes a mathematical formula to say, okay, how much do we want to invest in localizing it in every single region, in every single or nuanced go-to-markets and all of those pieces. So I think there's a dual problem with campaigns in a box, which is if you don't understand the outcome of the utilization, the ROI, then it's really hard to make that investment. And the second is, my sort of argument is, why are we building campaigns in a box for 6% utilization? It feels like a waste of time, right? We should be getting far wider adoption. And that really comes from how do we make sure that the partner really wants to take this message to market?
Exactly. Sometimes it's just like a checkbox. We have to do campaigns in a box. That's what everyone does. Let's just do it. And, we have to just think of as a partner. I'm a partner. I want to sell. I just want I don't care if you call it campaign in a box or you call it how you want it. I just want something that I can easily leverage to the market. And we also have to take into account, that's what I was talking about, these EMEA specificities, because there are some regions or countries where, they're more like digital. So they would need content for webinars, virtual thread talks, workshops. Some of them are like, oh no, I need a one-to-one. I need to see that person. So why don't we give them content for physical events? And then some regions like, Meta, for example, they're like more on social, making noise, making the buzz. So it's like they need that ready to use campaign. And when campaign as well, something that it's really important, it's how we message that. We just have to move away from we are this vendor, we are the best because we do this and this. There has to be the partners talking, and it has to be the voice of the partners. We help them to draft that message because they don't have, for example, the marketing capabilities or team that we do. So we help them draft that message, but it has to come from partners. It has to answer, the questions that the partners are getting, not us.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. I think in the briefing before this call, I shared a story that I think is the best version of how you build localization, which is Microsoft deliberately set up their EMEA HQ in Paris because they knew they'd win the UK anyway, because they're an American company, right? And so not only did they think, okay, how do we win? France and Germany are really key critical markets, and French love dealing with the French and the Germans love dealing with the Germans, obviously. And so they built their HQ in a region that's harder to crack than the UK, because they knew, because of the English to English, the UK would be easier to crack. And I just think if they are going to the cost, expense, focus of building their HQ in France, you can do the same for your partner portals or for your content.
Totally.
So, Laura, you have been leading localization. That's too many L's. But I know you've been really evangelizing localization for sort of assets and campaigns and partner portals. Talk us through some of the tactics and the outcomes that you've delivered through doing that.
Yeah, I think, and when it comes to, again, localization, it has to be everywhere. Like, we just cannot do, and that's something that I really like. And when I arrive to a company, I'm always like, should we start localizing or not? Because what I just don't really trust is just doing one localized newsletter every 5 months and then we don't do it again, or a partner portal where we have one page. It's like, you either go or rather you don't go. But if you go, do it right. And it's from campaigns to content to enablement. Enablement as well, it's a key piece. Enablement, it's critical for companies like mine and in cybersecurity. And even for enablement, it's, as I was saying, it's like a joint global but regional. Like, for example, at SentinelOne, we have a great partner enablement team, and they build everything that we call partner university, courses, certifications. That's great. And that's there for partners to success and to learn. But we have to make sure that they are really pitch our products, to understand our customers, to talk with our customers and prospects, sell the value, sell our products. And sometimes you need to complement that global content with localized. And when I say localized, not just the content, it's like really going to them. And so what we do is like we have that global partner university, but then we organize one-to-ones with the specific partners or one-to-many events. It could be virtual, it could be physical, depend on the region and the time, but it has to be local. It has to be in local language. It has to have like that local face that that could be the channel business manager, the channel marketing manager, but it has to be localized, and not only because of the language, but also because of the people that are talking to partners.
Yeah, 100%. I think the piece that I find sort of interesting organizationally is we understand that, if I take Zoom as the classic example, because I worked there, they had an amazing team in San Jose, building a global strategy, building a global program. But there's a reason that you have feet on the street in all the regions, right? And so the same nuance that you want to have a local CAM that knows the partners and knows the language and knows the culture and knows the go-to-market is the same reason you want the content and the enablement, because otherwise you just hire everyone in one country, right? But no channel in the world does that from a sales perspective. So why would we do that from a marketing and enablement perspective?
Totally agree.
So I think one of the things that's really complicated, and the bit I sort of spend my life obsessing around, is how do you measure performance from campaigns in a box? Because I think there's this big black box, right, that happens because we hope partners use tools and we hope they use the enablement and we hope that generates a result, but tracking that ROI is almost critical to making sure we continue to localize. I'd love to understand how you're doing that.
Yeah, and measurements and tracking, it's always like, the elephant in the room when we talk about channel marketing in particular, because when we talk about direct marketing, that's less of difficult, less of challenging, because you can talk about, MQLs and, pipeline. With channel marketing, it's more like, multi-touch attribution as well. It's a lot on how you measure enablement. So you can measure, the number of events you do and the number of partners that they attend and the certifications they have. But it's difficult to get that link then to business. And then when it comes to campaigns, for example, or content or events, we actually tend to do those partners, this specific partner has been enabled. He has attended X and Y of sales enablement, technical enablement. They are ready to go with marketing enablement, because we do it in 3 steps on the maturity of the partner. And then once they are ready to launch a marketing campaign, it's like, how have they used it? Yes, have they used it at the full potential? What's the results they get? It's also as well an exchange with the partner. You have to trust, because at the end of the day, you are not the one launching the campaign. So you are not the one getting open rates and click-throughs and things like that. So you have to trust the partner. And, at the end of the day, it translates into deal registration and pipeline coming back.
So you almost have like a sort of matrix that you're measuring in terms of certification and enablement, and then marketing usage. And then from there, you're tracking pipeline and revenue. And so you're able to pull a formula together that shows not that marketing independently is driving value, but marketing as part of a whole program is driving value.
Exactly. So we can track, the source when it comes to direct marketing. That's a clear source. Sales, it's also a clear source. When it comes to channel, it's like channel marketing together with actually the channel motion. So it's part of that. It's a multi-touch attribution.
What's really funny, because I've heard lots of direct marketeers say how frustrating that is, right? Because you want all the data and you want the direct attribution and the control. And I always say, well, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because the whole purpose of the channel is the channel's really scalable, right? We've got all these partners who are working on our behalf. We don't have to pay them. They're not using our headed paper, all of those complexities. And so the channel almost runs itself if we can get it going in the right way. And so while that lack of attribution is sometimes complicated, the upside is, hey, there's just this engine that's motoring along, and those small course corrections can really drive that big scale and big revenue that we're after.
Exactly, because, with the partners, then they can sell themselves, but it's like, why would they sell us and not someone else? So you have to as well prove the partner the value, and then the partner has to prove the value as well to yourself. So it's like a one. And it's all about trusting and sharing as well the pipeline and the business back to
makes complete sense. Now, one of the things I find particularly interesting about that sort of channel dynamics is we often see field marketing and channel marketing combined, which I think has some severe downsides. I know that is not your experience, and that you have seen those splitting of those engagements drive a really good focus. I'd love to hear a bit about that.
Yeah, and I've done, again, everything, because it really depends on the company. And that's always the question, like, should we split or not? Well, the answer from my experience is like, it depends. It depends on the, on the company and the maturity you have. Like for SentinelOne, for example, it's a really high speed, growth company. We are moving at incredible speed. And we are investing in channel every single year. Like that's our focus, and we keep doing that. So 3 years ago, we're looking at, the marketing team was just overwhelmed with direct marketing, because it happens. Like, we were at every single industry event and trade shows, and we're like being big, and SentinelOne brand was getting more and more visible in the market. So we thought that, the partners weren't getting the focus and the attention they need, and we wanted to give them. So we decided 3 years ago to split the marketing function in EMEA into 2 different teams: direct marketing and and channel marketing. The partner marketing team was really there, focused on partners. And when I say partners, it's not just resellers, but it's like resellers, distribution, MSSPs, like all the routes to market. And it was like really to give them that focus and efforts and budget that they needed. Now we keep growing every single year. Looking at next year, we have a great opportunity ahead of us. So now we are thinking, is that maybe we are now mature enough to just, combine those, but then making the regions probably smaller. So you have like one single voice for the region where you can combine all of the go-to markets. and all, some of the regions in EMEA are more direct marketing because like they are tier one countries, so it's more like enterprise kind of profile. But then some regions are more through partner, and we just rely on partners for everything. So that's where partner marketing will take more. So it's like it doesn't mean anything to just combine or split. It really depends on, you have to adapt to the regions, and we have to give them the possibility to just adapt depending on if it's more field and partner. But we still have, as I was saying before, you have to have that framework. So we still have pan-EMEA partner marketing only roles that are, leading routes to market, specifically as, GSIs, SIs, AWS. That's a whole world. So we have pan-EMEA partner marketing, just the specific functions.
So maybe we have those regional nuances in terms of how different regions operate, but you touched there on your ecosystem nuances, right? The VARs, the GSIs, the disties, the alliances. I'm sort of fascinated around how marketing works through the channel while combining sort of marketplaces and GSIs together, because that's such a complicated recipe to get right. But if you get it right, the upside's enormous. How are you handling that?
Yeah, exactly. Because I was saying before, partners, you talk differently to them. But then, it's both exciting, but also challenging to manage such a wide variety of routes to market, because then you have to talk differently as well within the channel to each of the routes to market. So for example, in SentinelOne, we work with, focus partners and growth partners and distribution managed partners and MSPs, MSSPs, incident response partners, GSIs, SIs, tech alliances. Like, it's just so many different, routes to market. And even if we try to, standardize when possible, but some of them are really specific as well. So you have to communicate differently, and you have to do as well channel marketing differently to each of them. So it's like, then it becomes each of the route to market is different. They has their needs. And then it's like how you actually within one person do direct marketing, partner marketing for resellers, for distribution, for like, it's really complex. But when you get that right, and when you understand and the company understands that you cannot just talk the same way to absolutely everyone, which is like end user, customer, prospect, or partner, let's just say the same thing. When they get that right, you see the success and you see the growth, because each of the route to markets are different and you have to do things differently.
Completely agree. Maybe just double click on that, how we need to operate differently for different routes to market. My hypothesis is in the next few years, we are going to see that marketing in the channels radically going to change. So right now we see tech alliances, right? How products integrate together. What I think will then start to happen is go-to-market alliances, right? Where there's a unified marketing story, and the brands that can do that most effectively will win. That's my hypothesis, Laura, but I'd love to hear yours in terms of what you think is going to change.
Yeah, and that's good that you think that, because then we are on the right way. Because I also think, partner marketing, partner in general, that will continue to evolve and grow. 15 years ago when I started, it was basically resellers and distribution. That's all. And that's why as well, I talk of partner marketing and not channel marketing anymore, because, in the past it was like resellers and that's all. Now we have such a diversity, and I think we are moving as well towards a specialization of, it's not just partner marketing, it's, partner marketing for tech alliances, for GSIs, for SIs. So we currently have specific roles and people just for, when I say just, it's a lot of work, but like it's dedicated to tech alliances. And for example, with tech alliances, we have partners where we know we have that common story. So we are building that common story, and we are going together to the end users, to the partners, to the market. And we just build the story together. We tell the story, and then we go through, integrated campaigns with that story together. And we want to win together. We want to go to the partners together. We enable partners on that joint story. And I think that makes the whole difference, because then the partners like getting, this is from SentinelOne, this is from someone else. And then it's like, this is actually how we both work together. This is the story you have to share. And I think, that's why we are going through more towards that specialization of, we have to have specific people that know how to talk with those specific routes to market.
Laura, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a real pleasure.
Pleasure, Alex. Just wish you the best for the podcast and your life. And on behalf of the readers, I just really find the podcast really, really interesting. So keep doing what you guys do. Thanks for, just making us, be able to just share our voice.
Amazing, Laura. Thank you so much for that lovely feedback and the recording today.
Thank you, Alex.